Hello once again to another movie review from MBE. Today we're going to be talking about 2012's Christopher Nolan's concluding part to the Dark Knight trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises, John.
Yes.
I'm going to hand it right over to you. We're going to get right into this. This was a film we went to see in IMAX all those years ago.
It was, Stephen. That was my first movie I actually went to see in IMAX, and even though we were right down the front, because we weren't aware that it wasn't pre-booked seats, that first come, first served, and people were there about an hour and a half before us and had the best seats. Even though it was low down, it's still some experience. It isn't truly the way to consume a movie. IMAX, the screen is just gigantic, it never ending, and what an intro to consume it on with this movie. Stephen, before we get into that intro though, briefly touch on some of the shenanigans in the build-up to this movie. Of course, there was lots of talks of this movie perhaps getting took out of cinemas and whatnot because of the shooting in Colorado. I think it was Aurora. I think someone went in dressed as a Joker or something like that and shot up a theatre. Yeah. So there was a lot of shenanigans. It seems to be DC movies that seem to attract that loonball element. I don't know why. What was your thoughts before getting into this movie? I know we've obviously done the previous two ones. We've gave our views on those movies, but this really is I've done this movie down big time. I'll get into that later on, but it isn't. I actually watched it again. I had to, and it isn't as bad as I thought it was. It is a pretty damn slick and good movie.
What you're putting up against, John, you can understand why you would see it as the weakest of the three. Very similar to the way Back to the Future 3 is always portrayed, because it's got the comparison for the first two films. But
Star Wars as well.
At the tail end of I think the last review we did for The Dark Knight, John, I did say, and I still maintain, they didn't really have to make this film. No. They could have wrapped things up in the second film and made it just a two-part sort of film, a duology or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But when we went to see this film, you're right. The IMAX experience in this, a lot of the shots, certainly in the opening scenes, over Scotland. I think these cameras are made for those kind of scenes, But I went to see The Dark Knight, as I said, in 2008, and I just saw it in 2D, a normal cinema screen, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did regret not seeing it in IMAX because of the opening shot, so that was one of the reasons I really did want to see this one. But I don't remember being too excited to see this film. Although I'm a big Batman fan, I just felt nothing's going to top The Dark Knight as far
especially
as
Heath Ledger's not live anymore. You have to step into his shoes.
As you remember, there was chat about that as well, wasn't there? About possibly using archival footage. I think it was very close on using it. I think there was scenes maybe set in Arkham Asylum. I'm not sure. You might be able to correct me on that, John.
Apparently it was shot through a door or something of the Joker, and it could have created some continuity. But as you do see in the start of this movie, after the plane intro, they try to do... Well, actually, no. It's the very first shot of the movie is actually Jim Gordon speaking about Harvey Dent. He does a brief little speech about Harvey Dent. I think I actually wrote the quote down, but it doesn't really matter. I knew Harvey Dent, and it'll be a long time until someone inspires like him. I believed in Harvey Dent. Of course, he's propagating this lie. He's got an actual note of the true...
proper speech.
A proper speech where he outs Harvey Dent and obviously bigs up Batman, but he puts it back because he's not got the courage. It
was a strange one, wasn't it? Because Jim Gordon's last words, sent his son at the very end of The Dark Knight was, he has to be what Gotham needs him to be, etc., etc. Then he's got his big long speech calling out Harvey Dent, which that city didn't need, John. They saw him as the White Knight, and obviously, Batman was the fall guy. He took the fall for this, so why would you do this? I don't understand. I don't know if it's because Jim Gordon felt that...
I think he was guilty. He just felt guilty.
I was going to say guilt, but...
About locking people up.
There's also interesting interactions with... I can't remember the names, but they basically said, he's on borrowed time, they don't really need... he's a war veteran in peacetime or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But it's just nicely set up, but... It was just one of those ones, obviously with, the villain being Bane and Tom Hardy playing him. That interested me enough, being a Hardy fan anyway. Yeah. Having Selena Kyle in there as well, although she's not officially called Catwoman or anything like that in the film, it's very clever the way it's did. You know, they refer to her as a Catbird girl and stuff like that. And those little goggles she wears as well when she's got them over her head, they point up like cat ears as well. Very clever. Yeah. But this is Christopher Nolan all over. You know, he likes to keep it real. You know, and this is one of the things you can say about this trilogy. He keeps it real at all times.
Absolutely, Stephen. Even the action, when it is a little bit unrealistic, a little bit ballsy, like the actual plane intro, which is an incredible introduction into
the fantastic, yeah.
It's still degrees of realism. You could imagine this happening if you can time it correctly and attach the plane to the other plane. You have the right
Pretty
tools.
Sure the SAS could
yeah,
do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You just demobilise the planes and then it's hanging, then you're slick and move about.
Yeah.
It could happen, so there is always that realism in these movies within this Dark Knight trilogy. Aidan Gillen in this intro is just playing Aidan Gillen, isn't he really? That absolute butchered Irish, English, American combination of accents. He did
it's a strange accent.
Game of Thrones.
Very much like Gabriel Byrne at times, you know. The Irish accent comes through when he's tried to do another accent.
But of course, this is all geared to setting up Bane as the villain. They put him in pretty much the first proper shot of the movie, the first proper sequence. He's trying to intimidate these guys. He thinks, yes, we've got this masked fellow on board. No, I don't think he actually realises it's Bane at that point.
No.
It's goons related to him.
Yeah.
So he's trying to rough them up, and obviously Bane famously says, maybe perhaps he's wondering why shoot a man before throwing him off of a plane, and then he's unveiled. And Stephen, it's such a slick introduction to the movie. It really sets things up the way it means to go on. I mean, he's just shows you the strength of this guy as well.
I love the line, John, if I remove that mask, will it be painful? For you.
For you.
You know, great.
yeah, that's a big long... I actually wrote that down as well. And then he says, nobody cared who I was until I put on the mask. It would be extremely painful. You're a big guy. For you.
Yeah.
Terrible. Just the way he delivers it. We'll get into that. Some of the line... I love Tom Hardy, I really do.
Yeah.
Fantastic actor, but some of his line delivery in this, it's theatrical. It's almost campy.
Yeah.
It's like... lovely voice and things like that, which we'll get into, but very slick introduction. He is using his strength to hang onto these seats within the plane, even as it's sitting vertically. Obviously, it's all designed to steal away the scientist. He leaves one of his brothers. No, brother, one of yous must remain to make it look they'll be expecting a body. And they cover it up as this scientist going missing, but it's all interlining, or whatever the hell you'd want to call it, weaving into this pot to get their hands on this nuclear reactor, turn it into a nuclear bomb, and this is them laying the trap early on in the movie. Obviously, after that, we do get the full sort of Jim Gordon, Harvey Dent speech. It's at some gala at the Wayne Manor, I want to say, or something connected to Wayne anyway, because we do have Selena Kyle
I think it's a
introduced as well.
Sort of thing, isn't it? Event or something. I can't remember, John.
But it's a very cool scene, Stephen. It put me in mind of what they did with Alec Guinness in those fan-made trailers, where it interslices Anakin and his interactions with Obi-Wan in the prequel trilogy. He's speaking about it. You can see it's paining him, and it flashes back.
Yeah.
He's speaking about Harvey Dent, and you're getting flashbacks of his last interaction with Two-Face. It's very nice the way they slightly put that in. Again, continuity from the middle movie. It doesn't really connect all that well to the middle movie. It feels like a self-contained story, but he did his best, to be fair.
As the film goes on, though, John, it does have a connection more to Batman Begins, but we'll get to that.
And then obviously Selena Kyle is introduced, obviously, Anne Hathaway, and it's
she's fantastic.
Incognito mission. She's essentially in there to steal Bruce Wayne's fingerprints, to try and get his hands... try and get Bane's hands on, obviously, his money, and force things through. I think it's this... What's the guy's name again? I've actually wrote it down. It's your man Ben Mendelsohn's character, Daggett.
Daggett, yeah.
He's trying to...
John Daggett.
Force his way in, take control
Not John Doggett.
No, not John Doggett. John Daggett. Would have been better with John Doggett. He's a little shit, Daggett, in this. But he's trying to worm his way into Wayne Enterprises.
Yeah.
Have his company maybe consume it, and then he can then work in tandem with Bane to manipulate things. So he thinks, but obviously Bane has other ideas. But obviously she goes in, they set up that Bruce is this sort of hermit who's been worrying away. He's got very long nails, he's disfigured for 8 years, and then of course we see him fire the arrow by Selena, and we know that he is not. He is worse for wear. He's a physical wreck, very gaunt, borderline emaciated. He has a cane. But the interactions early on, there's some chemistry there between these two. And obviously she nicks Martha's necklace. And
I love the way she goes out the window.
Yeah, just very acrobatic, yes.
Yeah, but it gives you a clear indication of her abilities, etc. But you're right, John, the sort of banter between both of them is very much there early on in the film.
Yeah.
And you know they're obviously going to meet again. You know, it's so clear. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice setup. You know, and it's you know, if you're watching these films back to back, it can be quite shocking to see the condition that Bruce Wayne's in at this point in his life.
He's so big in the
It's
first
obviously
one.
8 years on from the previous film, you know, in film time. Obviously, I think it was maybe only about 5 years actually in real time. And yeah, I mean, it reminded me of Robert Downey Jr.'s sort of physical form in Endgame at the very start. You know, very gaunt looking, very frail. But you know, this wasn't CG. This was, once again, this was your man. You know, Christian Bale. Been very committed to the role. The losing the weight thing, which I know he's gave that up now. He's getting older. He can't put the weight on and get, you know, lose the weight very quickly as he could in his younger years. But it's a nice setup, you know, and it's also interesting to see what became of Bruce after the events of The Dark Knight as well. We saw him take that tumble at the very end when he was trying to escape the police, you know, and he runs off into the dark. You know, the Dark Knight, and pun, and you know he, you know, it's 8 years on, you know, and there's a bit of his spirit gone. Yeah, you know, we'll get into that as well. You know,
absolutely.
Alfred does talk about this, you know, later on in the film about it's not about the suit. You know, it's not about you just putting that suit on, you become Batman. There's a spirit involved in this, you know, and he seems to have lost that. He's obviously older as well. Yeah, you know, it's always the thing about superheroes. You know, if they don't age, it's not believable. But if they do age, it's quite tragic to see, you know.
Unless you had Ben Affleck, and then you're older and grizzly, and you can handle yourself to a degree.
I always loved that. You know?
He does, though, Stephen. He does. Alfred highlights that there's a certain youthful zest about Bane. The way he moves, his energy, his enthusiasm, there's a rawness behind him. And he seems to think that Bruce doesn't have that anymore. He's lost something. And that, you're right, down to the sort of transition between this movie and The Dark Knight. He has lost something, obviously, with Rachel dying. He's kind of gave up. He's lost his spirit, and you can see physically he's just gave up as well. He's hiding in the house, shut off from life. I think Alfred actually says to him, look, I would try and pair you up with a chimpanzee if it would get you back into the world again. Because he's trying to pair him with, obviously, Miranda, and then he's trying to pair him with Selena Kyle, and he's like, what, you're trying to pair me with a jewel robber now as well? That's what he says, I'd pair you with a chimpanzee. Stephen, we did speak about it. Obviously, Michael Caine's acting isn't the best in this trilogy as a whole. It's a little bit...
Well, particularly in this film, John.
Yeah, it's a little bit clunky. Which is not like Michael, because he has a pretty damn good actor.
He's a fine actor, yeah.
And some of the conversations, they're meant to be passionate. They're meant to be... I mean, there was a degree of passion in the first one when he said to him, look, I wish you didn't come back to... When you were away from Gotham originally, I wish you didn't come back, because it's only tragedy and pain here or something, suffering. And I never wanted that for you. I wanted better. So there's a degree of it in that. But they do it again and again and again, and it loses its impetus. There's something
it's
lost.
The sort of final one between him and Bruce that kind of killed it for me.
Just says on you go.
You know, as much as you know, I love Michael Caine. You know, and he's an incredible actor. You know, it might just have been down to dialogue, John. You know, because as you said, you know, some of the earlier stuff was quite heartfelt. You know, and it was true. You know, he didn't want him to come back. You know, he felt that he finally, you know, he'd been released of the shackles of, you know, being, you know, a Wayne in a city that relied on the Waynes. You know, and I can understand that. But you're right. It just kept going back to it and back to it and back to it. And by this point, you actually lose interest and you don't really care, you know, for the sort of emotional
just
side of it.
Just want to see Batman back, and he is stepping in the way of Batman coming back. He's the obstacle. Obviously, in hindsight, he is 100% correct, because he is not physically or mentally ready to come back as Batman. I don't think it was his choice to dispose of the letter, though. You know, that Rachel. You know, I think it was. I think he was worried about him. You know, he was obviously worried that, you know, that this would be the sort of thing that finished them off, you know, if they actually... I would have showed them, you know, maybe not 8 years later, right enough, you know, but... I mean... 8 years later is probably a little bit harsh. Stephen, obviously at this point, Blake is introduced as well, Hothead Blake, because the blonde-headed guy he's also trying to be a Harvey Dent Mark II. His name is in here. I can actually
Is this the
find
police
it.
chief you're talking
It's Matthew
about?
Modine's
Yeah.
Foley character. Keeps calling him, hey, hothead, pipe down. We don't need a hothead. Yeah, he's not even remotely hot-headed. No. He's just inquisitive. He wants to do right.
The only time I saw, Blake losing his temper was at the on the bridge at the very end. With right those idiot cops. Yeah. Don't make another move, and rightly so. He's going to flip. I
think he was perhaps getting hot-headed mixed up with just wanting to
assertive.
Get in there. Yeah, assertiveness. Yeah, he wants to get in and get the job done, which is the correct thing to do in that situation. When you've got a group of dodgy guys and that one particular one in a mask and a tremendous coat try to take over the city. I think Blake's been vindicated in the end. He was right.
Yeah.
But Stephen, that says Joseph Gordon-Levitt. What could have been for this guy? I mean, even early on, I'm going to ponder this question. Yeah. Could he have played Batman in a spin-off? Not Batman in the traditional sense, because I don't think physically he has got it. And also what they do in this with the statutes highlighted that Batman is done.
Could have been Nightwing or Robin.
It could have been Nightwing. I don't want Robin, but Nightwing could have been a pretty damn good character. They could have continued this off and done something. Maybe not Nolan directing, but he could have did a sort of James Cameron
executive producer.
Yeah, executive producing it with guidance and someone he'd handpicked coming in and doing it. I don't know who you would have got.
He took that role on in the Affleck ones. Yeah, Nolan. As an advisor. I don't know. It'd have been interesting to see. But in hindsight, we probably would have been going, I wish they never made them. Yeah. Because they are connected to the Dark Knight trilogy. As I said, curiosity also gets better. We've not had a Nightwing feature film, and getting someone like Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Still in shape.
I've always got to look at his name down
Steve,
on my screen
to search it up.
because I keep saying Gordon Joseph Levitt, and that's not his name. But
I had to search it up.
I liked this character. I thought he was a great, inclusion in this film. The character being, part of the story. And you said something very interesting as well, John, that made me realise, he's kind of standing in for Jim Gordon, who's very much redundant in this film. I don't know why they did that. I don't know if someone had to take a back step and it had to be Jim Gordon. I think Jim Gordon had such a large role in the first two films anyway. Perhaps that was the reason. There was not much more to do with the character other than just sort of being in the background advising and stuff like that. But I love the character Blake. I thought it was a great inclusion. I don't think they had to make the connection with his middle name being Robin or anything like that. It didn't really matter. I just think it was a nice little sort of paying homage to the comics or whatever, and it was nice. It was a good setup, and I liked the sort of ending to that as well. Him in the caves, but it's one of those things, what ifs, isn't it?
Yeah, Stephen, obviously at this point he does. I mean, there's a brief outburst of action as well. Obviously Selina goes back to Daggett, not Doggett, to try and obviously conclude the deal she's done, and we have Bane's men coming in. There's a sort of interaction. This is when Batman, I think, actually comes back. I'm not sure if it is. I may be talking absolute crap here. It's not. I don't think it is. This is actually when I'm losing the plot here. I don't know what happens here. I think it's when Daggett actually. No, this is when Gordon goes down. He goes down in. He goes down into the sewers. Sorry, I'm getting way ahead of myself here. And obviously there's interactions with him and Bane, and we see Bane once again. He's just this big, intimidating, physical guy, and he's slapping his goons around. I think Gordon pulls off a cool little manoeuvre, slips off into the sewers.
But his speech gets loose, doesn't it?
Yes. And obviously they say, one of the guys says that he's dead now. I don't see a body. Go and get him. Yeah. And again, it just shows you the dominance this guy has. He's this big, intimidating figure, ruling by physical dominance, I've says.
Yeah, Batman doesn't come back till the bank rob. Not the bank rob. It's the stock exchange, isn't it? It seems that's when he comes back into it, isn't it? Yeah.
It's really when Blake. Yeah, I think it's round about then. Obviously, Blake comes in. He speaks to him. He says, "Look, I know you're Batman, Bruce." Yeah. He gives him that powerful speech about.
He'd met him. Didn't he, when he was a little boy? That's right.
The orphanage. Yeah. And he reveals that obviously there's been payments stopped going to orphanages from Wayne Enterprises because they're not making a profit anymore. It's revealed later on via Lucius Fox and whatnot. I think that's really the impetus to him coming back into the world. He wants to go out and do things again. Obviously he goes to the ballroom scene. He has that conversation once again with Selina. I loved that scene, incidentally, just the back and forth. It was very dialogue heavy. Chemistry again, great back and forth jokes. He's telling her that she's pronouncing Ibiza wrong. It's not Ibiza. You're going to show yourself as a criminal. She's questioning that he has nothing in his actual pants other than a wallet. and he's saying ouch and things like that, just back and forth, amazing. These two actors, great actors. What was your thoughts on that scene, Stephen? And then obviously the moment with Blake maybe revealing that he's
John,
Batman.
It kind of sums up the trilogy and the handling of Bruce Wayne, doesn't it? You know, because we're actually getting to have some good screen time with this character again.
Yeah.
You know, and it was something that was always missing. Yeah, I mean, Tim Burton, you know, and Michael Keaton did a great Bruce Wayne. You know, there just wasn't enough of him. You know, I just love that kind of exposure to this character. You know. I'm as much a Bruce Wayne fan as I am a Batman fan, you know, because I think he's such a complex character, the way he's got to portray himself in the public eye, but what he's really like, you know, behind closed doors, and then obviously the persona of Batman as well, and just the way they handle this character. But you're right, the chemistry in this film between, you know, Christian Bale and Anne Hathaway is excellent. It's fantastic. It's some of the best you know, banter you'll get in these films, and
the bit where she slips off the roof.
She's such a match for him as well. You know, she's not fazed by his playboy existence or anything like that. She's, in fact, she actually despises people like that. You know, it's established, and you know, she wants to see Gotham eat itself, as someone once said. You know, and it's only really when it does happen she realises it's been a terrible mistake. But what a character, and you know, playing off Bruce, especially in this scene as well. Just there is some other dialogue with Bruce and Miranda, I think it is, where he makes a comment about some old hag throwing, you know, this charity ball, and it turns out it's her, you know, and he's not even that embarrassed about what he's just said, you know, he just doesn't care, you know, but it's great, you know, it's good to see, because you're just getting to see the old Bruce Wayne coming back from the start of the film, where he was kind of withdrawn a bit, you know, and lost a bit of his spark. You can see it slowly creeping back in at this point.
Yeah, Stephen, I'm with you. Obviously, Batman, that's one of the things I've said before. It's almost, I keep making this connection with Oliver Queen. He's an inferior character, but it's that duology: vigilante by night, playboy, chauvinistic billionaire by day. That's the thing about the character that always intrigues me. He's splitting his personality, and I don't think any of them are a real representation of the guy. I think it's somewhere in between, but he splits it so well. That's what's so interesting about him. Obviously, around about this point as well, we do get the great bank, I keep saying bank as well, the Stock Exchange robbery. It's an amazing sequence. It goes on for about
motorcycles,
about 5 to 7 minutes. There's motorcycles. I think they go mobile. Again, you've got great dialogue from Bane, slightly theatrically delivered, where he says, the guy says to him, "There's no money here, you can't rob." He's like, "Oh, really? Why are you here?" And just the way, there is something early on in the movie, the way that his voice booms, it's quite interesting. About 3/4 of the way in, you start getting bored with it, and you're like, right, we're done with this sort of theatrical delivery and this kid-on sort of Darth Vader style voice. It's not that great after a while. Let them wait.
To my son.
Exactly. What a lovely, lovely voice. You're like, come on. Right, we're done with that now. Just take the mask off. It's alright. We can see your scars. Yes. But Stephen, this sequence is fantastic. As I did say, it's so slick. We've got the bat being revealed for the first time. Obviously, Lucius Fox persuades Bruce in. He reveals this new helicopter design.
Yeah.
A little snippet that's important for the end of the movie as well, where he talks about the autopilot, how it's not active. It needs a sharper, less busy mind to come in and maybe sort it. Later on in the movie, it's revealed that he does indeed sort it, and that's important for
a lot of people missed that.
Yeah, I don't know how you miss it, but they did. We certainly didn't at IMAX. So much going on. The bat comes out. You've got the police, that idiot police officer again that I spoke about.
Yeah, well,
what he go after?
He's
Batman.
He's on the bat bike or whatever. I never know what it's called, but he's on that first, you know, and it's making headline news. Batman is back, etc. And instead of chasing the villains, the police are wanting to, you know, there's a bigger prize in their eyes in capturing the bat. You know, because obviously he's been a wanted man for the last 8 years. He's not made any appearances, and all the focus seems on him at this point. Until they kind of corner him into that alleyway, don't they? And they think, we've got him. There's no way
he's hiding in there like a rat.
And obviously, as you said, that bat wing or back, I don't know what it's called, Batcopter.
The bat.
The bat.
They just call it the bat. Yeah, I think so. Bit of a shit name, but I suppose it works because it flies. And it does come in black. He says that's a little payback as well. To Batman Begins. But Stephen, it's a very cool sequence, as you did say. Shithead police officer. Would you rather go after a robber or the guy that killed Harvey Dent? Well, technically I didn't, but you don't know that. But you're still a shithead. But it's such a slick sequence. And obviously this coincides, I think, with, I want to say, him getting back, and then it's the split between Alfred and Bruce. I've just watched this movie today, and I'm that glued to the actual guideline, I'm not actually thinking about the movie I've just watched, but I'm pretty sure this coincides with him getting back. There's a big blowout between him and Alfred. Alfred eventually says, well, look, if you're going to continue doing this, then I'm away. And then he says, well, go. And then in the next morning he's shouting, Alfred, when the door's getting rang. And yeah, I mean, what was your thoughts on the Partner of the Ways? Was this something that you were surprised by, or did you see it coming with the hitting on the head again and again, on the nose, continual interactions and Partner of Ways between Alfred, because he doesn't come back.
No, he doesn't come back, but it's set up in a way because they have to do that, because of the character Miranda has to manipulate Bruce Wayne. And if you get Alfred in the road, who's he's got an old head on him, but I think he's good at reading people. You know, he would probably sense around Miranda eventually, spending more time with her, what she was all about. That's the thing, she doesn't really hang about too much until obviously everyone's out the scene, you know, and Bruce and her are in the house themselves. That's the only really time you get to see her for a lengthy period of time. Other than that, she's kind of just, you know, she's dropped into different scenes, key scenes, you know, because of the part she's got to play, and, you know, the lead up to the reveal later on in the film. But the Partner Ways, I think it was just a convenient thing just to get everyone out of the way, really. You know, he didn't have, Fox. He wasn't interacting with Fox at this point. You know, Alfred's out the road now. The only person that seems to really want to know him is Miranda. So it's setting up the story, really. I mean, they could have had Alfred in there, but I think it's more believable if Bruce is kind of isolated from his true sort of family and friends. Yeah,
and it does make sense. He cuts a very isolated figure in the middle part of this movie. He's lost all of his wealth because of fraudulent use of his fingerprints and whatnot. As you did say, Miranda does step in. Never believed that romance at any point, incidentally. It was just never there. There was no chemistry. It was really Selena Kyle and Bruce were the two that had romance in this movie that was believable for me. Obviously, Daggett does get an absolute destroying from Bane at this moment as well.
Quite right,
he's not happy because it's not turned out exactly the way he wanted. He doesn't have sole ownership of Wayne Enterprises because I think Bruce hands the power over to Miranda. So in a roundabout way, Bane's got all of his cake and he's got to eat it because he knows that Miranda is actually Talia al Ghul, shock horror, and that she is in cahoots with him. So again, I'm thinking she's a sleek little shit. She's just worming her way in here.
She is,
He's so gullible. How does he not see through all of this? This is a guy who was around Ra's al Ghul.
I think he's got a lot in his head, though, Johnny. You know, he's got the fear of Bane in his mind. You know, obviously the stuff with Alfred going on as well. He's just lost his fortune. You know, I think his judgment was just clouded with everything that was going on around him, really. Yeah. You know, and she took advantage of it.
Stephen, I loved that little line from Daggett, incidentally, where he says, no, you stay here, I'm in control. Do you feel in control? I've gave you a small fortune and this gives you power. The way he snaps, I think he puts his hand on his face, I know. And you hear him screaming off camera. It's great. Such a little shit. And look, I love Ben Mendelsohn now. I wasn't hugely aware of him at that point.
That was the first film I saw him in, I think. That I noticed that anyway. You know, I probably have seen him in other films previous, John. But
he's just great at playing those little Weasley characters, isn't he? He did it in Ready Player One as well.
Yeah, it's just a character you don't forget. You know, he didn't have a big role, Daggett. You know, but he had a function in this. You know, between
allowing Bane and obviously Talia al Ghul to come in and get their hands on Wayne Enterprises, the nuclear reactor and whatnot, and then that also brings us into Nuclear Man, yes. You talk about DC movies and bad.
About movie reviews, we'll have to do that one.
Nuclear Man, yes. I've never seen that movie, Stephen. I've only seen the honest trailers, absolute taking apart of it. So that's
what the hell was that?
Yes, what the hell was that? Space curtains. Fantastic.
Stop! Don't do it. The people.
Yes, stop! Don't do it.
Anyway, let's crack on here.
Yes, let's crack. Well, Martha, there's a connection. They have a connection. It's been revealed. Obviously, Selena pops in the bat at some point, and I've totally lost the plot here. She goes away. I think he goes once he's discovered he's bankrupt. I think Blake takes him. He drops him off. He has an interaction with Selena. He says to her, "Can you get me to Bane?" And obviously they work their way into the sewage system, yada yada yada. You get to the big fight sequence, Stephen, where Bane fights Batman. What a lengthy, beautiful fight sequence this is. And obviously, Stephen, Bruce absolutely gets destroyed at this point, which is no surprise because we have seen this getting set up in the early stages of the movie, Alfred's warned him countless times before he buggered off. Look, you're not in a physical or mental state. We do have that moment as well where he has an interaction earlier on we never spoke about, where he shows he's still got a degree of something about him. He goes out the window and goes up and speaks to Gordon, but he's not ready to fight Bane.
John,
he's not ready.
This is more mental than physical. This issue that Bruce has experienced at this point, he doesn't believe he can beat Bane. That's the problem.
No.
You know, and Bane's physical presence, you know, is so obvious, just in his stature. But it's his belief in himself as well. That's the most important thing. You know, it doesn't matter what, you know, Batman has any these tricks about hiding in the dark, you know, using these little sort of cloud burst things, you know, that to hide himself and stuff.
Ah,
you know,
trickery.
You know, Bane says this, you know, you adopted the dark, I was born in it, or something. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, I've got it wrote down, Steve. I'll say it.
It really is just to sort of highlight this guy is maybe about 5 steps ahead of Bruce. You know?
He says something as well about the League of Shadows. I was in the League of Shadows like you, so I'm aware of the trickery or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Oh, if you think darkness is your ally, you merely adopted the dark. I was born into it.
How forgiving is Bruce though with Selina?
I know.
You know, she apologised saying, like, "No, I'm sorry, but you know, this is just the way it is." And then obviously later on, he's so forgiving. You know, I'd be raging with her. You know, I'd be like, "I'm killing you."
I think he says to her, "You've made the biggest mistake of your life."
Yeah.
And then he just, that's okay. Get on my bike and we'll save the day. What?
Or even get, you know, this file, you know, wiped so you can have a fresh start.
I would have made sure she was dead as a dodo at the end of this movie. I'd have chained her to the actual bat and sent her out with the nuke. That's what I would have done. Obviously he does say, yes, I was wondering what would break first, your spirit or your body.
Yeah.
The way he says it, your body. And he breaks him. Stephen, I remember the first time watching this, I'm like, wow, he has been wrecked. He does his best.
Yeah.
But we do see later on in the final shots of this movie, Bane actually punching concrete and it's shattering, so he's a very strong guy. Well, so let's not
Bruce
be too
can
harsh.
kick concrete. You know, he had that leg support on. He was absolutely knocking lumps out of concrete, you know, bollards, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, he's no match for him. You know, Bane knows this and Bruce knows this, you know. Even the way that Bruce is throwing the punches, it's almost like the guy that stepped in for Crispin Glover. You know, he just couldn't throw a punch to save himself.
It's so half-hearted. He's swinging misses. Stephen, at this point I'm going to get into actual Bane and just what your thoughts are on him as a villain. I'm flinging this in. This is spontaneous. It's not in the guideline. And just your thoughts on Tom Hardy as well.
Yeah.
Obviously he was on to a loser coming in after Heath Ledger and the Joker. I mean, when you go to the ultimate villain for Batman and then you come back down to a Bane, he's a good character, but he ain't the Joker.
Obvious. It would have been easier for Chris Nolan to throw in the Penguin or the Riddler, you know, and let's make it all theatrical and campy and all that, you know. It's just that I think the world they created in those first 2 films, it made sense to have a more sort of realistic character in the third installment. Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, Bane isn't actually the main villain in the film. You know, he's more the muscle, the brute. There's obviously a Phantom Menace. You know, I described Miranda as you know, a Palpatine in this. You know, she's working in the background, manipulating things, you know, making things happen, you know, so she can hold all the cards, and that's what she's doing. You know, so you know, Bane is sort of the you know, he's the what's the phrase, you know, where you're
the fodder.
Basically, the fodder. Yeah, that's a good expression. You know, and I think you know, it's just leading you up the wrong path. You know, you think he is the main villain. Yeah. He is to an extent the big villain in the film, but obviously for the story, you know, he's certainly just another pawn. Yeah. But I thought Tom Hardy, just getting him in. I know he's worked with Chris Nolan previously, you know, and he's worked with him, you know, again after that in like the films like Inception. But I was so pleased that he was coming in. You know, you want a big name in there. You know, you got obviously Heath Ledger in the second film, so you need to get another big name in there. You know that it was not going to top that performance. You know, so don't try and get. They could have went with the Riddler, but I think he's too similar to the Joker in that sense with the sort of theatrics. You know, so. No.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
Killed the Batman franchise, Joel Schumacher. But or almost, thankfully not. But no, I think they did they did the right thing putting Bane into this. I don't know if you remember, Bane was actually in that film, Batman and Robin. It was Poison Ivy's sort of henchman. He didn't have a line to say, this guy. He was just this fat guy, growling all the time. And this film, he was so fleshed out. You got to get to know his backstory, where he came from, how he became the way he was, how he was wearing that mask as well was explained. It wasn't like anything.
Humanised him to a degree.
It did, and you actually see that at the very end when he's basically sitting on his arse. He's got nothing else in him, but you can see it in his eyes that he's defeated.
Yeah, Stephen, look, I actually thought he was a good villain. All in all, I mean, he's not the best. He's probably the third best villain. Well, maybe I'll put him fourth, maybe behind Raj, behind the Joker, behind Scarecrow. I put him above Talia just because I've got a severe dislike for that character and their sneaky ways. I don't like a sneakster. Even Raj, he wasn't a sneakster. He was just the master manipulator.
And Two-Face as well. Two-Face. They could have went the other way with that character. They could have made him almost like the Tommy Lee Jones version.
He could have been the main villain getting into this movie. Absolutely.
He could have. Yeah.
But I didn't mind Bane. And look, I love Tom Hardy. He's a fantastic actor. This wasn't his best performance by any means. As I did see, his line delivery at times leaves a lot to be desired. It's almost like he's in a West End theatrical production. He's not. He's in a Hollywood movie. Some of it's terrible, but his physique, he did put on a lot of weight. I think he was eating ice cream and whatnot and pizzas at this point. He put a lot of muscle on.
Yeah.
He was an absolute monster. You can see that with traps in the back, but a lot of fat as well. But he's a big, towering, brooding guy. He's only 5'9" as well. They must have had him in stilts, standing on boxes. I don't know how the hell he was taller than Christian Bale. I'm not having that, not a chance. But they made him look imposing, that's what I'm saying. It was a great performance. But look, Stephen, obviously, at this point, he takes him off to this prison in this sort of well down underground. He's speaking to him and saying, I think Bruce says to him, why didn't you kill me? Because you don't fear death. We need a harsher punishment than that. Torture. And I think he says, but it's not physical, it's emotional. I can't recall something along those lines.
You're going to watch Gotham
mentally break,
obviously, burn itself to the ground basically,
and then I'll give you permission to die. Because that's a great line that's repeated at the end of the movie. Obviously, this is like simultaneous. There's a whole section of this movie where he's down there, he's going through some grueling times mentally, trying to get back to where he was, recuperate, become a wholesome person again, physically as well. He's getting his back put into place. I think it's a disc gets slipped or something.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I've done extensive points in this guideline, but I think we'll just combine the two. There's a whole host of things going on at this point in the movie. You've got Gotham, it's flashing to Gotham. You've got an incredible sequence that goes on, which we've seen a lot in the trailers, so it did lose its potency when the actual movie came out. I remember seeing that pitch NFL punt return thing again and again in the trailers, but when we seen it in the IMAX, it was a thing
incredible
to behold. Obviously, it's just perfectly puppet mastered in. The police are going down underground, he's trapping them all, there's cement, explosives in cement, he's destroying bridges, there's whole swathes of streets going down, and then the stadium, as I did say, that horrendous line delivery. What a lovely, lovely voice. Let the show begin, or let the game begin, or something. But it's an amazing sequence. Obviously the punt returner's coming, he turns around, his whole team, the two teams are gone, there's nothing left of the pitch. What was your thoughts on that the first time you seen that? Just obviously Bane, the big theatrical performance on the pitch again. There's one man who can deactivate this bomb, it's him, he snaps his neck, and then there's gasps. What was your thoughts on that?
I just felt that it needed something like that, John, in the film. You didn't really want to spend the next half hour with Bruce down in that hole. No. It was depressing enough.
No.
We talked about this before we started recording the show, where, in my head, because I've not seen the film in a couple of years now, I always think all the stuff that happened in the hole was collectively together in the film, but it's not, you're right, it's sort of interspliced with what you're saying about everything else. You're also getting, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character getting around, marking, trucks and stuff like that, marking little bat signals on the walls and stuff like that. So he's keeping himself busy with that. He's keeping in contact with all the police that are underground as well, making sure they're getting their supplies and enough oxygen, etc., water. And he's keeping himself busy just looking after, the people that's close to him. And then we're getting back to the hole again. Bruce is attempting to get out, but he's got to sort himself out physically first. His back's almost and shatters. That scene when they actually straighten him as well sounds so painful.
Yeah. See, I remember the first time I seen that, I thought it was unrealistic, but actually for the slip disc, I think that is something you can do. It's like invert the person, and it pops it back into place. So in hindsight, it was accurate. Well done, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that's created black holes and time differences on surfaces near the black hole and interstellar. So this is a guy who knows what he's talking about. He clearly goes for detail. And you're right, Stephen, the way that he does space those scenes out and interslice them in with heavy doses of action and freneticism and then quieter moments, expertly crafted and weaved. This is a guy that's at the top of his game at this point. I mean, he's still at the top of his game just now. He's been at the top of his game his whole career.
But the way he did that, John, makes it feel like Bruce was down that hole a lot longer. He was obviously down there for a period.
Yeah, it was 3 months, 6 months.
Was it as long? I was going to ask you, was it ever explained how long he was down there for? But it had to have that.
I think it was 3 months.
Just to give it that sort of impression it was for a period of time rather than just a few days.
Yeah, because I think it's Blake in his interaction says the men have been down there. Someone says to him the men have been down there for 3 months. He says the cops have been down there for 3 months or something along those lines. So yeah, it was a long time. You do the way he interweaves it all, it feels that length of time. But you obviously get interactions with Bruce and the people he's in this prison with. They're explaining to him there was one person who survived or escaped the prison. It was a little child. In your mind, you're meant to be making connections with Bane. At the time, I was making connections with Bane. Now, when I look back in hindsight, I'm like, that is never Bane. That is clearly Miranda Talahogo. It looks like
the shaved head.
The shaved head. It clearly looks like her. But it's just, there's something about this road to recovery for the guy. He's watching the people being hung and whatnot, and it's breaking his spirit. He has to regain that spirit, the anger. It's not just raw anger.
Obviously, there's a reveal in the prison as well, John. A reoccurring character.
Yes, Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, he makes a great return. Liam Neeson. It's a very brief scene. It's almost like a ghost-like, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he vanishes just after he has his conversation with Bruce, but it's really just to show. And that guy that played the younger version of it as well was absolutely spot on.
It was, yeah. The sort of goatee. It was incredible.
They should get that guy back to do a Qui-Gon prequel, shouldn't they? Work brilliantly.
Yeah, but can he do a Northern Irish American every accent?
Can he act?
Yes, can he act? I highly doubt it, Steve. In fact, he got no lines.
The thing I loved about this, though, John, was it tying back to the origins of this trilogy. And it's one of the things that I love about this film is that they were going back to those things. It wasn't. Obviously the League of Shadows hadn't moved on from those events, and they obviously hadn't forgave Bruce for what he did. So there's obviously revenge in this film as well, obviously through the eyes of the daughter.
There's a fantastic quote from her about that.
Yeah,
the slow knives, the best. I'll get to it at the end, but it's an amazing quote from her. To be fair to her, shit show that she is as a character for me, because I'm obviously on the side of Batman.
Yeah.
That was a great quote. Stephen, obviously, in between this, we are, as I did say, going back and forth between Gotham and this place. There's amazing, I mean, I don't know if you agree with this, but I've seen some real thematic parallels, I've said, with Bane's false man of the people speeches. And I'm opening things up. Obviously, he's saying, look, this bomb, Gotham will prosper, it will live forever. And then you're seeing shots of this nuclear bomb. It's got a timer, it can't be deactivated. Been put into a truck, it's going to go off. He's talking absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
I've said there's clear parallels for me with him being a sort of quasi-Hitler, and just the Nazis and what they did to Germany. There's clandestine operations. Blake's going around with Gordon operating in the shadows, trying to work with Wayne Enterprises to get a hold on things.
Yeah.
You've got sort of kangaroo court scenes and executions. I've says, and people that know about World War II and their Nazi history will know what I'm talking about here. The Scarecrow is like a Roland Freisler. He's like the sort of butcher, Hitler's butcher. He's just ishing out executions and death left, right and centre to people.
Yeah.
He's a little shit, just like that guy was. There's public hangings, false, hateful propaganda, I've says. It's just a great sort of exploration of this, what it's like when civility kind of is deconstructed and you've got a tyrannical leader who's trying to appear as a man of the people. Do you agree with me? Is that something you've seen? Also at the time I'd never seen that. Watching it back, I've went deep.
I think you've
went well deep.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I actually forgot about the public hangings. That was quite shocking to see in a Batman film, wasn't it? They were hanging from the bridge.
That's more an Italian thing than German, to be fair.
Yeah,
they did that in Italy.
you know, it was. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just to emphasise the sort of power this guy's got over the city.
Yeah.
You know, and what he's capable of as well. But you're right. You know, the whole speech, it didn't make any sense to the audience. It made sense to obviously the people of the city. You know, oh right, okay. For us, we're like, what's he talking about? We already know about the nuclear bomb and what his plans. So why is he saying this?
Yeah,
you know?
he's ripped it out of the reactor, so it cannot be controlled. It is unstable. It is going to decay within 5 months, and it's going to blow up the whole city. So we know he's an absolute shyster, as we say here. But I just thought that was, again, great little exploration of themes and whatnot. We see that when Bruce finally leaves the prison as well. A great exploration, I think, of themes, just with his desire and his fear. Combined that for me, this whole trilogy is about fear in a way with Bruce. It's something that kind of
it's also the point. The Dark Knight Rises, John. That's the main theme in this film. You know, he finally he's rose to the occasion and taking that safety sort of harness off him as well. You know, highlights the sort of mental strength he had to overcome as well. Because you know, throughout this film, I thought that was the issue with Bruce Wayne. You know, it was the mental side of his beliefs, you know, and whether or not he could, you know, do what he used to do all those years ago. And that scene when he actually goes out and the roar coming from all the you know the prison inmates was fantastic. It was a great scene. I remember Tom Conti was the guy that he was talking to in the prison. He's a great actor, Scottish actor.
Oh, is he Scottish? I didn't know that. That's fantastic. What an accent. He didn't even look, it didn't sound Scottish at all. No. That's how you do it, Sean Connery. Hunt for Red October. That's how you do it. Yes. Stephen, it's a great moment when he finally breaks out, and I can't forget him throwing the ropes down, so he's not leaving them just leaving all the other people. He's actually letting these other people get out in his wake, which was pretty cool. I mean, it's just showing you can do it again. That's him back to where he was. And just this fear, he's finally came to terms with you actually need a degree of fear within you to live. If you've not got fear, then you can't be on edge and perform at your absolute best. Just battling with the fear, terrified of bats at the start, and Batman Begins, overcoming it. He's obviously fearful of losing Rachel and whatnot in the middle movie. Then in this, he's no fear. He has to get it back. So it's just that sort of juggling act throughout this trilogy. I loved it. Obviously, he does get back to Gotham. A great moment in this part where Scarecrow, again, I can't recall his actual name. Scarecrow, his proper name's Thomas something, or is it Thomas? What the hell was his name?
It's Jonathan Crane, isn't it?
Jonathan Crane, right, Thomas. That's
Dr.
Thomas
Crane,
Wayne. Obviously, they capture Gordon, and I think maybe Miranda as well. She's kidding on. She's part of it. And he goes before the kangaroo court, and he's also the back and forth. If you think I'm walking out in that ice, you're onto plums. Highly paraphrasing here. And then he obviously says, well, death it is then. Death by exile. And it's just like, again, I love Cillian Murphy. I do love the character. He's a little shit. But there's something, he's a lovable little shit. A lovable little
He's got more of a role in this one he did have in The Dark Knight, which was interesting, you know. But it was always great to see him come back again. We talked about, obviously, his relationship with Christopher Nolan. He's his go-to man for, you know, certain roles. And this, and because of that, John, you do get those sort of memorable performances from the actor as well. And you're right, you know, just the whole kangaroo court scene was fantastic, but it sets it up nice for when Jim's out in the ice and this is the return of Batman. He says light this up or something like that, and he throws it down in the ice and it lights up the bat signal on the bridge. It's such an iconic scene now, isn't it? Yeah, and Stephen, you've just all throughout this movie little undertones of the Batman theme, but it rose in this point. This is when he's actually back. I mean, there was a moment earlier on where it was quiet as hell in the background, the Batman, when he's regaining his confidence to come out of his shell from Hermitville. I'm going to say Hermitacy. That's not even a word. But it's just a fantastic scene. You see that light, and I think Bane says that's impossible or something along those lines. But it turns into a proper Batman movie at this stage for me, because he's back. He's in cahoots with Blake. He's kicking the shit out of all of these guards. I think Blake says, you've missed a bit, and he knees him in the face or something. And he says, if you're going to be on your own, you need a mask. I'm not fearful of facing these people. It's not for you, it's for the loved ones, or something along those lines. Right, Again, the little interactions between him and Blake's sort of echoes of what could have been for me, but it's not to be, sadly. But Stephen, also, this builds us into the finale of this movie, where there's so much going on. I love a good finale that's multi-perspective. We've seen that in the likes of
the Winter Soldier, Civil War, lots of things going on, multiple character arcs.
Yeah.
This finale is absolutely incredible. I forgot how good it actually was. I forgot how decent this movie is as well. I really shat upon this movie for a long time, saying it wasn't that great. It's not bad at all.
No,
it's a very good movie.
Yeah.
It's just not Dark Knight, Batman Begins level of good. But there's so much going on. You've got fights between Bane's men and the cops. You've got Bane renewing his fight with Batman, a great moment.
Broad daylight. Which is
daylight.
Something I don't think I've seen in a Batman film.
No.
You know, Batman out in the streets during the day.
Yeah, it's great.
It's such a contrast to the way he's portrayed in Batman Begins. Different suit, obviously. I preferred the suit in Batman Begins, I've got to be honest. I wasn't really keen on the whole combat thing. But just seeing him out in broad daylight fighting, you know, as just one of the guys fighting, you know. All the coppers as well, all running towards, you know, they're all united at this point, and they're running towards, you know, Bane's henchmen. And it's just, as you say, it's a great setup, you know, it's a great, and then you get obviously, you know, the confrontation between Batman and Bane.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a great fight scene, but you can see the hunger back in Bruce as well. You know, it's a different scenario this time. The way he's laying those punches in, you know, the execution with every strike. It's just such a contrast to the earlier fight between them, where it just felt half-hearted. You know, he felt and he looked defeated before the fight even began, and the hunger was back.
Absolutely. And Stephen, again, it's that great redemption arc you see in movies. I love it when a character's down in the gutter and then he builds himself back up.
The rise.
Yes, he rises, as the title does say. That moment he punches the mask and it pops out and he just knows he's got him. That's it, you're done. Yeah, I'll give you permission to die. That's a great. And then little rat bitch Miranda squeezes the knife in. But Stephen, that quote, I'll get into that quote just now, if I can find it. You see, it's a slow knife. The knife, it takes its time, waits years without forgetting. It slips between the bones. That hurts the most. She clicks the detonator. It doesn't work. So that was a great little slap in the face.
Bruce kind of gets back into that mode with that funny speech thing again.
Miranda. I hated that. Incidentally, when he's speaking to Selena and she goes on the bike, he's talking in that Batman speech. She knows who you are. You don't have to put the voice on. What are you doing? It's not even the mask. His mouth is not.
The mouth,
it's not encumbered at all. I don't know what he's doing. But Stephen, there's a whole lot of things going on. We've got obviously Gordon trying to deal with this nuclear bomb and whatnot. You've got Blake and he's off with the kids in the bus. That annoying old guy.
So
we've
negative,
got nowhere to
wasn't it?
go. It's a nuclear bomb. It's like I would have laid one on his chin.
I must have been glum,
I would have laid one on his chin. He'd have been out cold. He wouldn't have to worry about a nuke. I'd have free off that goddamn bridge man. No chance. He was a negative Nancy. Stephen, it was a great finale. I really enjoyed it. The cops. I was about to say clops. I don't know why. Blowing up the bridge, and then obviously once it's so, obviously Batman has to go and take the nuclear bomb as well, and there's that, will he get there in time, will he not get there in time?
There's a great little interaction between Gordon as well, just before that.
Who are you?
A hero or something like that. You know, it could be just someone putting a coat around a young boy. It's just lost his parents or something. I can't remember the line.
You're right.
You might remember that better than myself. But
I should, Stephen. I should have it wrote down.
Well, there you go.
But I don't think
Well, it's something like that. But it's just the realisation. Obviously, Jim Gordon finally realises who Batman was after all these years. You know, and it Bruce didn't have to spell it out to him. You know, he just basically said to him, you were there for me all those years ago. And I've never forgotten that,
Stephen, I think that's something that's just throughout this whole movie, it transcends the movie. Great little moments of exposition, revealing where Batman was in the start of the movie, very subtly. Yeah. And again, he just reveals his identity very subtly, little exposition moments. Also not for us, but for the character of Gordon.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gordon knows that now. He sees him get off, it explodes. Is he dead? Lord knows. No one knows at this point. Well, obviously we do now because we've seen the movie numerous times. I would have thought. Gordon's at Bruce's funeral. He does a nice little speech. I can't actually recall the speech because it's been about 2 years
Alfred's
since I watched
back
it.
As well, isn't he?
Alfred's back. Yeah, he's decided to turn up again. Some friend you were.
Must have been a will or something like that. Getting called out.
There was a will. The finale. I says Alfred gets left everything as he should. To be fair, he's the guy that was around him the most. Blake gets left the cave so he can go off and be Nightwing.
And the house gets left to the orphanage.
And the house gets left to the orphanage.
And there's that big statue as well of Batman, which was an extraordinary, piece piece of artwork.
It was, yeah.
You know, it was very...
How do you remember his suit, Stephen? They never really got clear glimpses of him.
Peter
the level
Parker
of detail...
took his photographs, I don't
yeah,
know.
it's the level of detail was astonishing. But it was a really nice ending. Stephen, also we do get the ambiguity surrounding Bruce's end in general. I've says in the guideline, did he die, didn't he die? We have payback to a little, going back to that little moment where Alfred says, I used to fantasise about sitting in this cafe and seeing you turn round, and we don't exchange words, but we just know that you made it. You got to the end.
Happy, yeah.
They're happy. We see that at the end. It's different. It's not some other random. It is actually Bruce. He turns around.
Yeah.
There's a little acknowledge and smile or whatever, nod of the head.
Yeah.
What did you make about this at the time? Did you ever feel that Bruce had died,
No.
that Batman was truly dead?
No.
Because I didn't.
No, if you concentrate on the lines in the film, John, I know it's hard to do sometimes in comic book films and action films. You know, you're that sort of intoxicated by what you're seeing visually. Sometimes you might not pick up on a line, etc. It's not done in a way where it's so obvious either. You know, it's a little throwaway line that you wouldn't probably notice the first time round. We did, because of obviously their surroundings were at IMAX. We couldn't really miss it. But you know, it's typical Christopher Nolan, isn't it? You know, just he's leaving the audience hanging. You know, half of the audience anyway didn't pick up on that line.
Well, the autopilot could have been on. He could have still flew it. So again, it's just leaving it open to conclusion. Do you think he died? Do you think Alfred's fantasising, or is he really there? Again, it's just his classic. He does that.
Yeah.
He's cerebral in his storytelling. He leaves movies. Look at Inception, for Christ's sake. I mean, if you get that, is it going to stop twiddling and fall over, or is it just twiddling endlessly? This is what the man does, and he just leaves it open to the audience. Some would say it's lazy. I don't. I think it's nice. It adds more depth. You can discuss the movie afterwards, which we certainly did. Stephen, obviously performances and standouts, we've not really spoken about that. I mean, who's your standout performer? So, you know, I'm going to say Joseph Gordon-Levitt for me.
I think so, John.
He's just he's just there, and he's gets such enthusiasm throughout the movie.
Yeah, he's
just the connection to Bruce. He's that sort of often rising above and becoming more than what he should have been. It's just that little connection.
I think between him and Anne Hathaway, I think both of them kind of stand out in the film. You know, as marvellous as an actor Christian Bale is, you know, he kind of plays second fiddle in this film to Bane to an extent, you know. Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
But even Tom Hardy, as great as an actor I think he is, I think some of his lines were pretty duff. You know, I was more impressed with his physical presence in the film and his story arc in the film rather than his performance as an actor. I would go with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Anne Hathaway.
Absolutely, Stephen. I can't disagree with that. There's obviously other performers in there. When you have a Gary Oldman in there, then you can't really... But he's not in the movie all that much.
Usually I would go with someone like him, but he's so underused in the film.
And you can't really not speak about Talia al Ghul as well. I'll try and find her name. I actually don't know the actress's name, shockingly. I can't actually find her name. Doesn't even matter. The person that played Talia, there you go, Marion Cotillard. How can I forget Marion Cotillard's name?
I always forget her name.
Jesus Christ, she was in Inception.
Yeah, well,
what?
Christopher Nolan film, but
shocking.
She's in so many films, but she's one of those names, John, that I always forget about as well.
Yeah, but she's a fantastic actress. She was good as well as the conniving puppet master.
Again, she wasn't in that a lot, you know. No. She was in the key scenes, you know, which she obviously made her impact in those key scenes, but again, you know, it just wasn't enough of them. You know, I think if you're looking at the film as a whole and the sort of time that each of those actors had on set, you know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt had a lot of screen time in this film, and so did Anne Hathaway.
Absolutely. Stephen, look, final thoughts on this movie before we round it up. What is your thoughts on this? Obviously, we spoke about this as a whole in the actual trilogy, the previous reviews. It is the weakest.
Yeah.
But for me, I did at the service. I says it was not that great, but actually came back and watching it again today. It's been a while prior to that since I actually seen it. It's actually opened my mind up to how decent a movie it is. When it's Nolan, you should expect that, but it is a very well constructed movie. There's things being explored. It's slick. I really enjoyed it. So for me, I'm going to rein in my negativity towards this movie. I think this trilogy as a whole is exceptional.
Well, it had to round things up, John. That was its importance for me. It had to give, you know, Bruce Wayne closure. You know, and they did that. And it left Gotham in a better sort of position as well. They weren't relying on, you know, a lie at this point like they were, you know, at the end of The Dark Knight. So yeah, I mean, it was a good conclusion, John. I would say, you know, the first two films were great films. This film was a very good film. The only thing that bothered me was obviously the New York setting.
Yeah, Steve. I mean, obviously that is one of the grinding things in this movie. Visually, it does feel distinctly different to the first two movies.
It's
the actual city,
it just sticks out, John.
Yeah, the streets are different. Everything's different. That is the one thing I would say is a little bit off in this movie. That, and just the fact that they didn't do as good a job of connecting it to the middle movie as I thought they probably could have. But I mean, they did connect it to the first movie, and overall it
serves the story because they had to kind of isolate the people of the city, so they had to make it more sort of island based.
Yeah.
With the bridges, the only way off the island. So it made sense in that part, but there was just something missing. It's something I liked about Batman Begins and The Dark Knight was, obviously...
it was more expansive.
Yeah. But the enclosed streets as well, I liked as well, what we saw. Here it was like broad daylight most of the time.
It was, yeah.
And
I think that was because primarily it wasn't actually a Batman movie for a large part.
Yeah.
It was just about him losing his way and it being Bane.
Yeah.
And just the villains taking over and running the whole city. And then he comes back the last half hour, 35 minutes, and wrecks them. Well, not really. I mean, he sacrifices himself at the end. He doesn't really wreck them, but he comes back.
Yeah.
So a large proportion of this movie isn't really a traditional Batman movie, so to speak. But look, I loved it, man. I thought it was... The themes they explored, the way they interconnected it, the best they could into the trilogy as a whole, paying back to the Batman Begins movie.
Yeah.
It's impossible to connect into The Dark Knight after what happened with Heath Ledger, sadly, but Nolan, the guy's the man. He's one of the great directors of modern day. He's just fantastic. I'd love to see him come back and do another comic book movie at some point, but I don't think he will. The man is set in his ways. He's doing Tenet.
Yeah.
Lord knows what he'll do next, but I'll be watching it no matter what it is.
Queen, yeah.
Yeah, Oliver Queen. No.
The Arrow trilogy, yeah.
Oh no, that's strictly for TV only, Stephen. But look, I'm done speaking about the movie. I assume you are the same, Stephen. Well, that's going to round up our review of The Dark Knight Rises from all the way back in 2012. We're having a blast from the past. What is your thoughts on this movie? What did you make about this movie in terms of the trilogy as a whole, The Dark Knight? Have you seen it? If you've not seen it, go and watch it. It's pretty damn good. I was wrong. I shout on it. If you've got anything to say at all, you can comment below and let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you are enjoying the content, and you can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of the content. And if you do, then you will see us again tomorrow for MBE Movie News and later on this week for more movie reviews.